Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the Confluence Podcast. My name is Luke Geraty, and I am with Colin and Andrew. What's up, guys?
Hey there.
How we doing?
Doing good, yeah. Yeah, it's fun. We're back talking about fishing. So today we're going to be talking about walk and wade trips. We're going to, talk about some basics, like what to bring, what not to bring, how maybe we set things up. Colin does a lot of walk and wade trips, and I will begrudgingly do them. Is that bad to say that?
You've heard of walk and wade fishing.
I did more of them a few years ago. Yeah. Now I'm like this. Anyway, and so we're gonna talk about walk and wade trips. We're gonna talk about Spay Camp. We have some spots still open for that. We'll do some river reports for where we've been fishing, and then we will look ahead a little bit about what's coming up in September, October, November, and into the steelhead season. So let's talk about walk and wade.
Yeah.
Give us all of your secrets. What are the...
Sounds good. Here they all come.
What are the...
No pad and pen.
Hold on, I'm ready. Yeah.
Yeah, so as most people know, I spend a lot of time in the boats throughout the season, but I do a good portion of my year taking people fishing on foot, doing our walk and wade trips in Northern California. So Upper Sac, McLeod, Hat Creek, all that kind of stuff. Just some of the basic stuff that I use out there. I've kind of moved towards, we're nymphing, I'm moving towards the 4-weight 10-foot rods nowadays. I find that it's been a lot easier for people, and myself even. I fished today with one when I first bought one. I'm like, these are incredible. Just be able to have that extra reach, that extra leverage to be able to roll cast. I think your standard trout rod, your 5, 9.5s are great for the dry dropper stuff, dry flies, things like that. But having that little extra reach with that 4-weight 10-foot rod, has been a huge game changer for me and my clients.
Okay.
So that'd be probably for sure.
So the rod you're using, 4-weight 10-footer.
Yep. 4-weight 10-foots for all my nymphing applications on the walk and wade environments.
All right.
Yeah.
What kind of lines? Just out of curiosity.
I really like the Scientific Angler and Adro lines. Just the same ones we use down in the Sac or over on the Trinity for steelhead. It's just in the 4-weight configuration for those. They're just the taper on them. They're super nice. They're thick. They're long. They're easy to...
They roll cast well.
They roll cast like a dream.
So are those 4-weight 10-foot rods, are those specialty like Euro nymphing rods, or are they just like you can buy any rod in a 10-foot
that's a good question.
model?
They're not really a specialty rod. Okay. It's just like any configuration. So the 4-weight 10-foot rod is built more like if you had like a 6-weight 10-foot rod, like a big nymphing rod in your hand.
Okay.
They're just downsides. They have a soft tip, but they're not like a traditional Euro nymphing rod where they're super flimsy and flexible.
Yeah.
So
the Orvis, Helios 10-foot 4-weight is hard to...
The Orvis Helios 4-weight 10-foot rod is probably one of the dreamiest rods you'll ever cast.
I used that one and I was like, oh my.
It's pretty slick. Even the Recon, if you want to slow it down just a little bit, they're all good rods. So those have been kind of my rods of choice. Now when we're working dry flies, throwing chubbies, things like that, I'm using a 5-weight 9-foot rod, traditional trout river rod. So.
Is that still the go-to rod if you're just going to have one rod to take with you?
For sure.
The 5-weight 9-foot rod. Okay.
Yeah, I think if I was taking one rod out on a walk and wade environment in Northern California and I didn't want to carry 2 rods, probably grabbing my 5-weight Helios or Recon or whatever is already rigged on the wall and ready to go.
And that's ready, yeah.
I'd probably take that, but if you had the luxury of being able to maybe take a couple rods that you want to have one set up for dry dropper or dry fly fishing and one for nymphing, that's kind of been the combo that I've been going with this season. And it worked out great.
That makes sense.
For those like 14 hours in the middle of the day when there's no hatches, you could just go with the 10-foot 4-weight.
Carry it around with me all the time, just in case.
Yeah. So on those
it makes us feel like we're real fly fishers.
And I get it. Thinking about that, not just Northern California, but like a lot of fisheries all over the the West. It's pretty common to have 2 rods. I think for a lot of people. I was just talking to some friends that live in Colorado, and they are streamer junkies, so they always have a streamer rod ready to go.
708 ready to go.
Yeah, they'll rip some streamers through after they've gone through with their indicator, their dry dropper. Yeah, I'm like, man. So so your 2 rods generally you really like for overall purposes a 10-foot 4-weight, and then if you had to just pick one rod though, a 9.5 foot 5-weight, hard to beat. Okay.
Hard to beat that.
All right. So you're thinking about like other gear though, because I always feel like when I'm on a walk and wade trip, it's like you don't want to have a ton of stuff, right? But you have to have some things with you, right? And I'm trying to become more of a minimalist, but it's so hard because I'll have like this Sims backpack with like 85 boxes of flies that I pulled out of my boat box. What are some like you need to have this? Because I'm thinking for wading, if your state allows felt, you would be crazy not to have felt soles. Wading staff. What else would you add? Like,
so as far as gear, wading gear in general. Now, if you're in the summertime, wet wading, always a personal preference. Ditch those waders, put on some boots and some neoprene socks. Great way to go. Just like you said, depending on your where you're at and your regulations as far as you can wear felt or rubber. I just tell everyone, in the water, felt is always going to be far superior. Now, if you're doing a lot of hiking, the felt is not going to be superior. The Vibram sole with maybe some studs is going to be better for hiking around and then having some good grip in the water. It just comes down to personal preference. I own both versions, felt and rubber. It just depends on where we're going and what we're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, other good gear, like I don't ever go onto a river walking wading without a dry bag. I wear a dry backpack so I can whatever I am carrying in case I do take a swim or it does get hot and I do want to go swimming on purpose.
Yeah.
All my gear is dry. That's always a tip. All the manufacturers carry one. Orvis has a good one. Patagonia has a good one. Sims and some of the other brands.
So you mean a
personal preference? A backpack that's submerged.
In addition to your like fishing pack, or does that combine your?
It combines the way I personally set my stuff up for a guiding purpose. It's unconventional. I would probably not personally fish the way I have my stuff set up. But for a guiding standpoint, they make dry bags in sling versions and things like that. I just think it's a must to be able to, especially if you're wet wading, have a place to tuck your wallet or your phone or your keys.
Yeah.
And if you
I
want to take a little swimsies.
I bought that Umpqua, this is probably 5 years ago, and I bought that Umpqua Z something. It's got like the vest, but then it has a backpack in the back too.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool too, because it had a water, again, one of those
like
little water. Hydration pack, and then it was a pretty decent sized backpack, so you could fit. I mean, I think when you're guiding, right, you might have a first aid kit with you, some waters and all. Yeah, it's like you're lugging around all this stuff that if it was just you fishing, you probably would not have. But so what about the weight? So talk about the wading staff though, because I know you can spend $500 on a really Gucci one made by certain manufacturers, or you can do what I do and use a ski or a walking stick.
Exactly. Yeah, if you're going walkway, I don't care how strong, muscular you are, how many trails you've hiked in your life. If you're getting in the river, a wading staff is a must, in my opinion. I spend well over 100+ days a year wading with myself and with clients, and I personally carry a wading staff and I rely on it.
Yeah,
it's a third leg. It helps you especially once you get up to knee deep and you're moving across currents and things like that. It's a must. But you are correct. I have a pair of Black Diamond trekking poles I bought at a sporting goods store 10 years ago, and they're still functioning just fine.
Yeah.
Now, those are what I give to my clients to use because they're hardy, they're bulletproof.
Yeah.
Great if you want to split it with your fishing buddy. That's a good option. I do own all the other, stuff, wading staffs from the big fly fishing manufacturers. They work good too.
I like how they fold up
around the business.
They fold up so well.
Access to it all.
Yeah, that's the benefit to those. But I mean, I what I generally do is I have like some I guess like just a stretchable string that I just attach it to and then just let it dangle, and then you can.
I've seen people take like wooded dowels and turn them into really cool ones. There's a few people across Northern California that makes custom ones.
Do you know what Andrew does? Have you heard about this?
No.
He actually normally has new guides that he's trying out come out and hold his hand onto the river. That was really That's how I got hockey. Was that no?
No,
that's not true.
That's not correct.
It's not correct. It'd be pretty funny if you did that though. Oh, you're interested in being a guide? All right, here's your first shot. What do you do? Do you just do
a combo? I have some of the Sim staffs, which I mean I like the folding them and being able to put them away.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean the thing, people who hate wading staffs are in general people who haven't used them properly. So if you're out there with a wading staff and you don't have it in your hand, you're gonna hate it because you're gonna it's gonna drag behind you, it's gonna catch on stuff. So when you're moving, use the wading staff. A couple other safety things, make sure it's not on any kind of bungee. Same with a net. You don't want it on anything stretchy because if it gets caught and you take another step, it's going to catch up with you really fast.
Yeah.
So
I did learn that the hard way.
A zinger or just a lanyard that doesn't stretch.
That's what I have. I have a zinc. It's like a retractable. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. That's
like,
that's good.
I've used like paracords with a carabiner or something like that. Those work great. Connect whatever staff you're using up onto your belt loop when you're not using it.
Yeah.
I think another really important thing is just like it. You know, it's just like getting outfitted for a ski pole. Like, you know, when you stand up and you put your arm out, you know, it should be like this high where you hold it. You know, if you're up here, it's not going to be very helpful, and if it's down here, it's not going to be very helpful. So you want to, you know, at a comfortable.
Actually, adjust the sticks we use. I think they're adjustable. That's what's nice about them. So that's a good point. Yeah.
So I mean, use the weighting staff, and it'll be your friend.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan. I always use a weighting staff. I have some ski poles. I have some that are more like the broomstick model, and I've got the fancy ones. And they all work.
Yeah.
So
I think I saw one of the trips you and I went on. You had one of those ones that's like on your belt that all folds up. And
in the
I was like
holster.
I was like, I really want one of those because I was dragging mine around and they had like tree branches. It's like, oh man. Okay, so so some essential gear: wading boots, a wading staff, or something that can help you there. What about rain gear, Colin?
I've heard it's good to have rain gear.
Is it? Yeah. Is there? Is that important?
This is very important, and I learned my lesson the hard way not that long ago out on the river. So, especially we're in late August, but we're moving into the fall, right? So we're gonna have nice days, but we are getting into that time, especially up in the mountains, pretty much across California, where there's gonna be isolated thunderstorms and things going on.
It's hurricane season.
Yeah, apparently it's hurricane season in California. Yeah.
Who knew that was coming?
Yep. So I went on a trip a few days ago, and we had it was an overcast day, and it was a little drizzly, and I just had my soft shell with me, and I thought to myself, oh, it's not going to rain that bad, and sure enough, I spent the next 8 hours in torrential downpour getting soaking wet.
I would like these text messages that came from you, because we were going to fish that evening, and I texted you and said, hey, we still good for tonight? Let me know. And then you said, is it raining there? and then you said, because it's pouring rain all morning up here on this river. And you said, I'm soaking wet. Didn't come prepared. Let's do it another night. And I was cracking up. Because I had those trips too where, even not even in the mountains, sometimes in the boat trip, just a random.
In Redding, I've had it happen. Down in Anderson. Anywhere.
We had
hours freezing under various bridges in Redding.
It can happen, right?
Especially in the spring.
Yeah. Andrew and I think Kevin were on a trip on the Sac last year with these moms and their daughters, and we had a hailstorm that was the worst I've ever been in. I mean, the boat looked like it had a snowstorm in it, and I remember at the time too, I was rowing downriver to get out of it, and I think I was just keeping with the center of it. So we finally pulled over, and it was insane. So those rain jackets are essential. What other things would you say are essential gear? We're not talking about flies or leader systems or rods right now, but what are essential things that you'd say you should generally have with you? Fishing license.
Gotta have that.
Yep.
What else?
A fishing license is a must to have. As far as gear for me, I'm always gonna have my trusty boots. I'm gonna have my wading staff. I'm gonna have my pack, and I'm always gonna have a good net. I've used the same fishing net for walking away trips for a long time. I've had a couple of different renditions of it, but having a good net that you like. I personally, when I'm fishing on my own solo, I prefer a long handle style net, so it's easier to land fish. A typical fishing net is about this long, but they make them now with extended handles. They're not like the boat nets you would see, but they're a little bit longer, so it just helps that extra added reach. Now, when I'm guiding, I use a short handle one, but it has a massive basket, but I'm not the one with the rod in my hand, so it's easier for you to I use the short handle because I'm already carrying 20 pounds of gear around with me. But when I go solo, I like the long handle net. I think they're great. I think there's plenty of different manufacturers out there that make a good option for that. Lightweight, and those would be my essential as far as just gear goes.
Okay. How about you? Any essentials that you?
Well, I mean, when I fish for myself, just on my own, I usually don't bring a net, and so that's just a personal preference thing. I think I think for a lot of beginners, a net seems like something you just got to have that because you might catch a fish, right? But I don't know that it is. I mean, you can release a fish without a net. Sometimes I feel like fish that end up in nets spend more time out of the water before they get released if it's not done properly. But so for me, I don't know. When I'm guiding, I take a net. When I'm fishing on my own, I usually don't. But yeah, I think we've covered the basics. I like the felt with a couple, like maybe 4 or 5 of the little studs screwed in.
Yeah.
Not too many, but some.
Just don't bring them in the boat. That's always the rule.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Talk to your guide about that.
Yeah.
But
That's a guide preference.
every boat's a little bit different.
Yeah. Well, now you know my preference.
Yeah.
So.
Keep those out of Luke's
Yeah,
boat.
and it's not because of the boat. For me, it's the lines. Like the studs. You
could
step on those lines, and it's like it just.
I mean, the
destroys
line's
it quickly.
toast regardless. You got studs.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
As soon as you
Maybe
kick
with
the
your
pile
guys.
of fly line, it's toast.
I usually do a new fly line for every trip.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that about you. It casts so well. So so for you, those are your preferences, and it makes sense. I think
I'm a more of a chest pack
Yeah,
guy than
yeah.
a vest guy. I
Okay.
used to be a vest guy.
yeah,
When I got into guiding, I'd
you got the
carry a
little-
lot more stuff, so I moved to like a bigger chest pack.
Yeah,
And now I have more of like a fanny pack.
yeah. I know you. Well, it's light though. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever I go with you, I'm always like. Because I'm generally carrying a backpack with all this camera crap in it.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like looking at you and you're all like nimble and, sliding. I like sling packs myself. What do you?
Backpack. All The way.
Backpack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep, I wear a backpack, and if I fun fish, I take a puck of flies and put it in my pocket
Yeah.
and go.
Yeah. Black ones.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of
Just a puck of
That's all I
flies.
need. Okay. So then one thing I'd add too, just because it's really easy sometimes, especially when you're trying to be light, is to forget water, or to not take a water bottle. But man, if you're fishing, like I'm thinking the upper sack, you start out in the morning, it's like, oh, it's kind of nice and cool out here, and then 3 hours later, you're dying as you're trying to walk back on the railroad tracks.
It's like 1,000 degrees.
Yeah, and you're just like, I did this trip up to Alaska, a couple months ago, and I brought one of those little, I guess, bottles that you can put right in the river and it cleans out the water. That was actually like game changer for me because that thing works really well.
I keep a life straw at the bottom of my bag
Sweet.
for
If you run out.
just in case
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah,
For me
it's-
or the people that are with me, because no one ever brings enough water.
Yeah, you just
Right.
do not have
Right.
enough. Yeah.
So I try to keep
Yeah.
one on me at all times when I'm out, just in case, because you never want to get dehydrated,
Yeah.
especially like on a hot day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that gives us a lot of good information for basics of walk and wade trips. Maybe just we'll wrap up this segment with just a couple nuggets about what about fishing? Like what are some things that stand out to you guys when you're looking at a walk and wade trip? Like maybe what type of water you like fishing, or what are the things you're looking for that help you decide where to fish or what to fish? What's your trade secrets?
Yeah, my trade secrets.
These are for me, by the way, right now.
Yeah, I know they are.
Tell me more now.
For me, I'm really just chasing water temperatures, right?
Okay.
Like that's especially like this time of year, really this month. I've been spending a lot of time on the upper Sac and McLeod. And especially with the upper Sac in general, I think water temperature has to play with a big factor in your quantity of fish that you're gonna have an opportunity of hooking.
Yeah. Okay.
So, if you have a 100-degree day, don't be fishing down by the lake, right? It's going to be warmer the further you go downriver. So I'm just trying to find that balance. That's kind of, I'd say what I'm really looking for in a day of walking weight, especially in high, dog day of summer.
And that's true about really
And
anywhere,
that's
right?
applicable pretty much anywhere you're going to go trout fishing.
Yeah. Colorado, Montana, Wyoming. I mean, anywhere I've ever been, that's, definitely an issue. Not only for the fishing, but for the fish, right, Karen?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that you can't catch fish in warm water. You surely can catch fish in warm water. It's just that they're probably not going to survive. And if you're
They
planning on
float
putting
upside down.
If you're planning on putting them back, which most places
Yeah.
are requiring catch and release of wild trout nowadays, you're not doing them any favor.
Okay, so for you, the one, I guess, secret would be temperature of water. How about you?
anywhere where Luke can't fit his boat in there, that's a good start.
A lot of places, actually.
Somewhere close to the road. No, I like freestone streams, high gradient rocks and boulders, pocket water, environments like that. You can get close to the fish without spooking them, and that makes everything a lot easier. And you can fish a lot of different techniques. So
yeah, okay.
And fortunately, around here we have a lot of water that fits that description.
Totally.
So, the pit, the cloud, the upper sack, and many other places. So yeah, I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it gives you a lot of different options throughout the day and move around and
different techniques, different water types.
Yeah, for me, I think my walk and wade, I really do like the dry dropper, just as a consistent,
You can kind of fish it everywhere.
Yeah, it's just fun. Exactly, it's like I like how
I fish it in 20 feet deep water.
Yeah, I like that that whole thing, which I mean, it's just such a fun way to fish too, So yeah, when anybody's asking me about like what should I do, I'm like just dry drop it, just do it. So that's cool. So that kind of is some good information. Thank you both of you for sharing that walk and wade stuff, and hopefully this is helpful for our listeners and viewers. And so we got some other things we want to talk about, but I do know, Colin, you do a lot of walk and wade trips, and if you're listening or watching and you are interested in getting out with Colin would be a great guide to go out and have him, show you the ropes and use one of those 10-foot 4-weight rods that he so eloquently described. So
and he won't be just thinking about like being in his boat the whole time either. So that's a big plus.
Because normally I'm like, have you guys ever heard of the lower sack? Do you guys not know about the big fish down there?
You can fish from boats.
True story. Okay, moving on. So we're gonna talk about Spay Camp a little bit.
We got a split.
Yeah, we've got some Spay Camp stuff. So
so I brought my special hat here to remind me about Spay Camp for the radio listeners out there. It says Confluence Outfitters Spay Camp 2023. Spaycamp.com. Check that out for more info. So we have camps from kind of mid-September through mid to late October. And we have just 5 spots left in our final camp, which is October 16 to 19. So plenty of time to book that. It's a 3-night camp, and we take 6 guests at a time. We sleep 2 per guest in really big outfitter wall tents. Francis, our chef, is returning for his 3rd year. He makes great food, and the fishing is always amazing. So if you are interested in learning how to spay cast, or if you've already done some and want to get better, or if you just want to fish your brains out for 4 days, all good reasons to come to Spay Camp. So get in touch with me if you want to book a spot. It's an amazing program. You'll have a great time if you come. Awesome.
Well, Andrew, we know that you got to run, but thank you for hanging out with us.
And got some logistics.
While you're gone, we're going to talk about some river reports and things like that too. So
okay.
All right, cool. Thanks, man.
Okay, man. See ya.
Good to see you.
All right.
All right. So let's talk about some river reports. I'm going to talk about the SAC.
Yeah.
You were on the SAC today too, so you can obviously chime
I was
in.
on the lower SAC this morning.
Yeah, the SAC has been fishing really, really well. We did have one day where you and I went out and it was not great.
Yeah, that was probably just because guides were fishing with guides.
Yeah, we wouldn't show each other what flies we were using. Yeah, no, that's not
exactly.
True. It was just a slow day. I mean,
it was kind of funky.
Yeah, but it was weird. But all of my other trips, your trips have been has been really good.
We've had some good days out there.
Yeah, the fishing's been
fish.
Yeah, been really good. A lot of caddis in the afternoon, evenings, mornings. Midges and mayflies. I think it's been kind of like a pretty consistent
pattern there.
Yeah, and so I think I've been doing a lot more of afternoon, evening floats. You've been doing more morning, afternoon stuff, right?
Yeah, I've been mostly either doing like today I had a half day, on early, off by lunchtime. This last week I was doing just early starts, off by high sun. I typically don't do. I'll do a 8 to 4, but it just gets so bloody hot in the high sun out there.
Yeah. It's
you know,
hot.
like guys like you and DJ and the guys that are living in Reading doing this more of a split day option or that just start late and fish into the dark.
Yeah.
I know that's been producing fish. I was talking to you and just a few other people that have been out there fishing those evening sessions. So I guess it would just cater to whatever
totally
said person would want, if they want to go out and fish kind of a banker hours, or if they're cool with staying out there and eating dinner on the river and fish until dark.
And that's what's kind of cool about the Lower Sac, in my opinion, is that it's kind of, you know, you can catch fish kind of throughout that day period. You know, a lot of times it can be based off of bugs but you know, on the Sac, it's such a weird thing where sometimes, you know, like there's a million of a certain bug, but they're uninterested and they're only eating you know, another one. And then there's other days. It's just such a baffling. I love that place.
Yep.
But the Lower Sac's been fishing really well, and I think you know, mostly indicator fishing. There's been some of the evening times. There's been a fair amount of rising fish on caddis, which has been pretty cool. I've gotten a couple eats. Feels like, you know, it's right before it's so dark that you can't see anything.
Yeah.
You know,
get like it's like hex fishing.
It is
5 minutes of good dry fly
fishing.
fishing.
It's like, oh man. But interestingly, the caddis have been a lot of black, you know, caddis, the darker ones. So that's been kind of cool, you know, but we got egg bite coming up soon. And, you know, I think for anybody listening, if you haven't done you know, late September, all the way up until November 15th-ish, generally is kind of what I call it. Yeah. October's prime. We've got days open. Lots of guides have days open for Confluence right now if you want to get out. But that's, you know, I mean, hero season is what I'd call it.
Yeah.
It's, if you can chuck it over there, you have a good shot at a larger fish.
September through mid-November is probably it is the best fishing on the Lower Sac consistently from start to finish.
Yep.
Pretty much pick a float, do it, and you're gonna have a great time.
Yeah.
The fish get really grabby, especially once the salmon are down laying eggs.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a great time. It really is.
Yeah, I mean,
and it cools off. It's not gonna
exactly. I was just gonna say
hot. The weather's great. Fishing that normal kind of 8 to 4, 9 to 5 window. It's just it's pretty rad.
Yeah. It's you know, it's a good time to go. And then so that's kind of the Sac River report. I'd give it 2 thumbs up. It's been fishing really well consistently. A lot of large fish too. You know, I mean, yesterday my guys, you know, like they're used to fishing like Sierras and, you know, like we caught a couple like, you know, 10, 12-inch fish, and they were like, that's what we're used to, that being a huge fish. And like, I mean, our 18-inchers were like, ugh, shake it up. You know, I was like, oh, it's a small one. You know? It's just, I think we forget how what an awesome river, you know, the fish are too. But so you've been doing walk and wade. Give us a river report on what you've been doing.
I've been kind of all over the map over the last couple of weeks, kind of doing the full Northern California circle, it seems like, all week long. Still fishing on Fall River, still taking folks out there. But it seems like over the last week, mostly been on the Upper Sac doing walk and wade stuff, a little bit of McLeod, and some float trips down here in Sac.
Okay.
But as far as the fishing report goes in the walk and wade front, Upper Sac's fishing great. It's fishing extremely well for a half day. Now, if you want to fish a full day and then maybe just, you know, it's because it's fishing really good till high sun. So what I mean by that is we're starting at 7 till about 1 o'clock. We're getting 90% of our fish. After that as soon as that high sun comes up, it gets pretty sluggish out there, no matter where you're at. We are finding fish in those high sun points, but so a lot of people have been either calling it a early off on a full day, or even just staying out just a little bit later. Maybe we just work on some more techniques after the fishing dies down. But I've had a lot of half days out there. People have been stoked on it.
Yeah.
If you want to get real crazy, you can book me for a half day in the morning, take the afternoon off, and come book Luke for a half day, even float on the Lower Sac, do something crazy like that. Would be totally fun and applicable for this time of year.
A great idea. Yeah.
So Upper Sac is definitely 2 thumbs up right now as far as
that's awesome.
walker wading.
But I want to say something about what you said earlier for anybody who's, you know, when they book a guide. I think it's really important for people to realize it's not just about the fishing. Obviously, we want to catch fish. I don't know any guide. Every guide I know is like, we want to put fish in the net, you know, for sure. But then the opportunity to be with the guide to have instruction and learn different techniques is really a great thing to do. So like, that's a great idea for somebody to do. Hey, we're going to probably catch most of our fish in this window. After that, like maybe we learn how to cast a dry fly rod better,
Yeah.
or tight line nymph a little bit
100%.
better, which you're great at. So that's something to keep in mind too for those days. It's like, and that's probably just why it's important to talk to have a conversation and talk about like, hey, this is what we want to work on. I remember last year, one of my favorite clients to fish with, he booked me for 3 days in the upper sack, and we had a whole plan. It was like, day one, we're going to do tight line. Day two, we're going to dry fly.
Awesome.
And the third day, we're going to try to do it all and be bad at all of it. This is kind of the joke about it, just switching from all these different techniques. So that's great. So upper sack, 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up on upper sack.
McLeod?
McLeod, it is fishable. Okay. Water conditions in a good spot. The fish are I was in there last week. Fish are extremely fast takes right now. So we are finding fish.
Mm-hmm.
We're not walking away without any fish had, but you just got to bring your A game. I rarely say that about the McLeod. Just what's going on that I've been seeing. The fish are fast to bite.
Yeah. What you're saying is that they are quick grabs. You got to be on it right away.
Yes, they're quick grabs, and you got to be on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're bringing your A game to the table, McLeod is great right now. McLeod's going to only get better, though. I think that's going to kind of simmer out a little bit, and we'll have some good fall fishing coming shortly into September, October. We're going to start seeing consistent hatches and things like that. And the fish will get a little less, fast, like it's their last Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah.
So
gotcha. What about, so like for folks wanting to try to fish the October caddis, which is really November caddis.
Yeah.
Generally.
October caddis is probably one of my favorite hatches in our walk and wade rivers.
Mm-hmm.
It can be pretty awesome. It's like the one exception that I make to potentially fishing late into the evening with people, just because I want you to experience it. Very similar like our hex hatch experience on Fall River, having to fish late into the night. But yeah, it can happen anywhere from September to November.
Yeah,
it's called October caddis hatch. I've seen it come off as early as 2 weeks from now to it ain't happening till the end of October. So it's one of those things. If it's just a hatch on your radar, I wouldn't say necessarily hold off for it, but if it is something that you wanted to do, give Andrew a call, put you in contact with me, and we can kind of talk back and forth and kind of maybe give you a window over the next week or two of when I think it might be
kind of when it's okay.
But it typically comes off later in the day. It's going to be like when I know it's happening, we're starting a little bit later to fish towards the evening zone, because it's coming off. I start to see them bopping around in the 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And it is. I mean, it is like I would put it in the same world as the hex as far as just the excitement.
Yeah,
and when you see those
throwing big dry flies.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Stimulator?
Yeah, I mean I prefer chubby trim.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
you can run the old school sofa pillow pattern.
Yeah.
It's like a I don't know. It's like 3 inches long.
I do. I like
the
chubbies myself too, just because they're easier to see. They float real high, but
the chubby's great too. Especially like I always like running the droppers underneath them. So the chubby Chernobyl for October cat is probably one of my favorites. They do make a couple extended body October caddises that I like that are pretty cool. I can't tell you what the name of them are, but they're like a foam body on a short shank hook.
But for those of you who want to fish a stimulator, because that's obviously kind of like the classic.
That's pretty a go-to.
I just prefer other flies. But man, I mean, the first couple of years I fished here, I would just go up there with one of those, it was crazy. Watching fish literally dive bomb.
Oh yeah,
it's like
they'll jump out of the water and then come as they're descending, come down on your foot.
It is crazy. Yeah,
it's not a sip when they're eating these dry flies. So
and then just the whole when you're walking, and there's just these huge, massive caddis flying around, and you're just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. So that's something to be up on, and maybe we should talk about upcoming. We'll quickly what's coming up. So like we mentioned, egg bite.
Yep, we got egg bite.
October lower sack. We have the October caddis potentially anytime from September to November.
On the
walk and wade. Upper sack only. Do you
upper sack and McLeod?
Yep. Okay. So you do both of those. We also have the Trinity. You and I both do a lot of guiding on the Trinity for steelhead. That's gonna be pretty quick here.
We're basically call it go time for Trinity.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just chit chatting. My first Trinity trips in 2.5 weeks for the season to get going. So now's the time. If you're thinking about steelhead fishing with us from let's say September through February, March of next year, give us a call. Start planning that out now. So especially while our calendars aren't quite full yet, we can kind of maybe put you in a better window. If
for
we
sure.
think it's gonna, line up, we can look at past calendars, things like that. We want to try to provide the best experience for you guys as we possibly can. But it's coming fast.
I think about the Trinity.
It's crazy how quick it came.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy though on the Trinity. What's cool about this time of the year is there are for sure adults around.
Oh yeah,
that is a for sure thing.
Yes.
B, there's not a lot of people over there right now, which is great. Exactly. Going in earlier, sometimes you're gonna have. You just look at the percentage of opportunity. It's like there's less people over there who are presenting flies to the fish, so you might have a better shot sometimes actually before 100%. Everybody gets over there, right?
Especially like if someone that's listening to this that booked one of us or booked it whoever to fish the Trinity last year, maybe let's say after Christmas into the new year.
Yeah.
Maybe try fishing it early season.
Yeah.
I think maybe mixing it up could open up a new perspective. I have guys that fish with me early season and in the late season because it's to be honest, it's the same river, but it's a different vibe, right? Like over the next couple months, like we're not freezing our butts off in the morning. It's still pretty mild and conditions are nice.
In the earlier of the season too, I do like to I'll do like these combo trips sometimes where it's like people want to swing some flies. The fish are like going to actually chase oftentimes. You can skate flies and then you can do the indicator thing too. So it's a good time to go. Well, is there anything else that we can think of for the upcoming? No.
That's about all I got. Yep, that's kind of our projection.
Let's go fish.
What's going on?
Yeah, let's go fish. All right, well, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you soon.